Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Airway Sim. Um, Today, I wanted to kind of show you guys what I've been up to, which is not much in this game, and just see how our company is doing in general. So, the first thing I want to look at is the fuel price, which is starting to go up. And off camera, I grabbed a hedge at what appears to be a local min, which appears to be really, really good. So, as this fuel price goes up, this dotted line here is the actual fuel price I'm paying. Basically, how it works is you pay a flat amount plus a certain amount percent for the fuel price at a certain point in time. Um, and then if the fuel price goes down, of course, or stays even, you lose money. And if it goes up, then you're starting to save money. And in this case, it is thanks to these prediction lines. Sometimes you can get a hedge like this previous one here, which is kind of meh, but not bad. And now this is a really good hedge. And this is actually a really important thing for my company because we fly 747s, which are massively fuel inefficient, and my margins are kind of bad. Um, Now, why are my margins so bad? I'm actually not too sure. Um, my 747s are in general flying with pretty good load factors. So that kind of leaves the other option, which is the fact I'm just flying with too many planes, which have um, poor utilization. If we take a look at my airline, here, first of all, as you can see, the growth is starting to slow down. And the main reason for this is just because I haven't had time to schedule a lot of my aircraft. 154 aircraft, and most of them are unused. Individually, the aircraft which are flying are doing very well. Um, I'm kind of curious how much my 747-200s are making because I've actually never checked. Uh, and yeah, the ones which are flying on more established routes seem to be doing quite well. 2 million. This is probably about the point which we want them to be at least. Uh, like routes like this, I highly doubt are profitable at all. So let's kind of see like what kind of routes these are, and they're perfectly good routes as you can see, but they're just ones where uh, it appears that the route image just hasn't reached the required levels to become very profitable yet. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and open some new routes. I mean, a surprisingly large, not the majority, my routes actually are still yet to um, become like 100 route image. So like it's just a waiting game. There's nothing you can really do to speed it up. Um, so yeah, instead, all we can really do is just wait and open new routes so that um, the route image is constantly ticking on its way up, and hopefully eventually we'll be able to become profitable enough so that we don't even really notice when we open routes with low route image. Now, one problem I've noticed now is I'm starting to run out of 747 capable routes. Um, I think we finally reached the point where we're starting to look at cities which potentially we're gonna want to fly smaller aircraft on. Now, the majority of these level 3 airports with no competition, I still would really like to fly an A330 freighter on them. Um, an A330 freighter is not so much more expensive than a 767 freighter in terms of operating costs, but it carries a lot more cargo with a lot better payload. Um, like with that in mind, they're still great cities for 747. So let's go ahead and open that in a new tab so you can remember it. And keep looking kind of for good routes. Now, I'm really curious how routes like this perform, where the demand was really low at first and we had to try and get to split off from the main airport, and this seems to be doing really well. 70,000 split off, and this number is only going to grow. So I feel like for routes like this, Dayton, there's only 5,000 current demand. As you can see, that's very, very low. Um, But if we take a look at the airports around here, um, that's actually interesting because I currently fly to Cincinnati, which is the main overlap. So let's go ahead and take a look at that and see how much of Cincinnati's demand we have. If I remember correctly, this is actually an airport with, yeah, quite a bit more potential. So if we grab some of this over, it's not going to affect our current route too much. Some of it's probably going to Tokyo Narita. Yeah. With that in mind, I think I should open this route. Because some of it's going to pull from Narita, some of it's going to pull from its own catchment area. Um, so we should be able to get some decent demand here. And I don't think it should affect our Cincinnati route too much. So let's go ahead and... Is this a route long enough to overnight? Without wasting too much time? 5,600? I think it is. I don't think it wastes... Ooh, wait. I just realized we don't even need to... We can just direct this flight. The reason being is I have a bunch of unused 747 ERFs, which are, of course, excellent planes, which don't really require... wow, there are not a lot of slots. But yeah, what I was saying is these are excellent planes which don't really require many... how is there no slots even at 8? Is there just no slots in Narita like most of the day? And I just had no idea. I guess we will overnight this. Let's take off as late as possible where we can still find slots. And yeah, just get this to land as close to the 6 o'clock as possible. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, the direct payload is still very good. So we can go ahead and do this. Yeah. So we're going to want to make sure that these are showing us only ERFs, because I'll do the ERFs first so that, we know to schedule this entire schedule with not a single stop, unless it's like to the very tip of the United States or something. But like a route like this is perfect for this. No stop needed. Will transition perfectly into a 777 eventually. Like even there'll be a little bit of extra time because the turnaround is a lot longer than the difference in speed. I believe a 777 is a Mach 0.84 and a 747 is a Mach 0.85. Don't quote me on that. Could be wrong. Yeah, but I believe there's a slight speed difference in favor of the 747. In fact, I think what was the transatlantic speed record? I think not the Concorde speed record. Yeah, it was here. Like a not a, like a subsonic 747 made it across in like 4 hours. Whoops. Yeah, here it is. 4 hours and 56 minutes. Yeah, it was a 747, as I thought. Like, it was the fastest plane to ever cross the Atlantic. Super impressive on that point. It's like four and a half, like 5 hours. Like, at that point, why do you even need supersonic flight? I mean, I think the Concorde's record is just under 3 hours. So it's kind of impressive that like a subsonic plane, like it averaged much faster than supersonic, obviously, because the jet stream was like just great that day. But like obviously, if you're going the other way, like you try and fly out of the way of that jet stream a little bit. But yeah, it's it won't work the other way back. 1640. If you can find a really like short flight, kind of like Wichita, we're gonna be able to add 5 schedules to this day. I have no idea where any of these airports are. The West Coast or the northwestern United States, which is the closest, is also kind of an enormous dead zone for any sort of cargo or good cargo numbers, which is kind of unfortunate. Because yeah, it'd be really nice to fly there because it's like convenient. You know what, the Eastern Iowa, I know that the demand is not good enough, or doesn't look good enough for a like just direct 747 flight, but I'm gonna do it because it's really short and it should let me take off again before the curfew for Narita, which is of course a really big factor when scheduling in airports like this. I don't know why I gave myself the challenge of scheduling Narita and not Haneda. I think the reason is because Haneda has a lot of 757 flyers, Um, local time, a 3 hour turnaround. Yeah, yeah, that's actually perfect. Maybe we'll compress this a little bit so that the next one doesn't have to be so compressed. But yeah, yeah. Like with Tokyo Narita being like such an annoying airport to schedule with, massive curfews. I think they're just as bad as London Heathrow. Um, yeah, yeah, they're just as bad as London Heathrow. Uh, you'd think I'd rather choose Haneda, which has more slots, um, and better times, but it's actually not worth it because what Narita lacks in good scheduling, it makes up for in lower competition. And competition is rarely a factor in this game. I would say most of the time, the main problem is boredom. People don't really bankrupt because they're bad at the game. They bankrupt because they're bored at the game. At least in terms of good players. Um, Good players playing in a big airport cannot go bankrupt. It's not even possible unless they stop playing because there's just simply too much demand, and there's nowhere like there's no way to somehow be more skillful at taking said demand, um, like or more skillful enough that it would make a difference of profitability versus non-profitability to a major extent, um, which is at the end of the day why a lot of players really value strong early starts. It's just that you occupy more of the market initially, and there's no real way to get it back once the slots become occupied, especially at key times. Like, for example, you might go and look at LAX, and you'll see that there's only like most of the day slots are available. But in fact, the airport is still slot locked because in order to overnight flights in LAX or schedule efficiently, um, ooh, that sucks. I just realized the departure time is at night and this airport has a curfew. So let me see if I can find a different flight. Um, yeah, what was I saying? I was saying, oh yeah, the night flights in LAX. So even though it looks like the airport has a lot of slots available, because none of the night flights are available anymore, like in order to make a night flight from LAX, it's on the west coast. The only thing you can do is fly east. So if the slots at around, midnight or slightly before midnight, which are the ones where you can actually arrive in times people want to fly in this game, because of course people are very sensitive to flight timing in this game. Um, Once those are taken, which there's only a few hours of those slots, there's kind of no way to compete with anybody who has those slots because you just won't be able to compete with their utilization. You can get like 18, 19 hours a day of utilization. Um, so what are we competing with? Dayton, uh, which I have a route here already. Only 200,000, so that's less than a 10% overlap. Um, Indianapolis, which has only about a 10% overlap. If we take a look at the timetables, actually, and just find Tokyo in here. This has to be the dumbest way to find a flight. Hold up. Jeez, this is annoying. You can see who's flying cargo at least. Kind of interesting. Yeah, this is not the best way to do this. Route planning. What was I looking at even? Indianapolis. Right. I was looking for Indianapolis. Here it is. I just want to see how much demand I'm pulling, so all of it. So there'd be a slight competition with myself if I were to open. Um, if I was to open that route, what was it? But it'd be a waste not to open it at the same time because there's so much demand there, which is just completely untaken. To Fort Wayne here. Like currently, the demand is of course being split among many airports. But I kind of don't want to pull demand away from myself, which is why I'm hesitating in opening it. Like it's only gonna be a bit. I'm probably gonna pull 15K away from that route. But by the time like that route image is increased to a reasonable level, the demand will probably be higher by a large enough margin so that like that 10% will be covered. or the 10-15%. Probably the better option here is just to open a route like this. Oh no, I can't open a route like this because there's curfew. So yeah, in fact, I have to open this route because it's the only one I can find with reasonable curfew. So interesting. Let's go ahead and open this up. Of course, no need for a stop. And this is why I want to use the 777F eventually, non-stop to most of the US. It's just so insanely blessed. I don't know how I'm gonna adjust my I don't know how I'm gonna adjust my takeoffs for my like 747s. Will I redo them, or it's too long to be flown every? Wow, I forgot to click this button. That rarely happens. Yeah, I won't know if I would want to reschedule my 747s, or I'll just let the 777 stop for no reason, even though they don't need to in the future. Yeah, rescheduling is a ton of work. It would be lovely if they added a remove stop feature for route transfers. Like, there's a window where when you change your aircraft, which I haven't ever done on camera because, this is a really new airline, there's no need to change your aircraft currently. But in the case you do need to change your aircraft, currently you just like move the schedule to a new aircraft. It'd be nice if there was a remove all tech stops button on that page, so it would apply that to kind of all the flights. But yeah, I don't think that exists. And the game owner Sammy is really slow to make changes to the game. So like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, like, we don't need that feature so much. There's a lot of features we need more, but it would be so nice to have it. Ooh, that's a great cargo find right there. Let's see if it'll fit. So we take off at 13. And yeah, look at the difference that no tech stops makes. Is we can so easily fit 5 flights a week, which is so huge for our profitability. Because the break-even point for leases is probably 2 flights, and then these next 2 flights are profit. So having an extra one actually increased our profit by 50%. Because the first two flights are just breaking even, like leases and stuff, right? So yeah, basically what I'm saying is you really, 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 really want to have the best possible turnaround times as possible and the least tech stops possible. And would you look at that? It fits. That is so beautiful. I miss a lot, like having at least 5 schedules a week, or efficient schedules, because the tech stopped ones are really, really, really rough. And we'll see that because we're gonna have to make a few anyway. But yeah, let's go ahead and schedule all these ERFs while we still have them available. Let's go ahead and open that up. 1.13 gigabytes used so far. Yeah, just taking a look at my thing. So hopefully my computer doesn't fill up. Yeah, I'm playing on my laptop right now. I just finished a really large assignment. I overnighted last night. So yeah, I'm probably it's only like 4 p.m. right now, but I'm thinking about going to sleep soon because I'm so exhausted. But I was like, you know what? I'll record a quick little video of this first. Haven't played in a few days, so my airplanes are stacking up. I still log on, on average, probably every 5 or 6 hours to request my planes. You can, if you want to maximize efficiency, come every 3.5 hours to get new planes, and then once again in 30 minutes, and then wait 3 hours and repeat the cycle. But if you do that with the used aircraft like that, you have to be really vigilant to get every single one. I just kind of log on when I feel like I haven't logged on in a while. And in general, even with that level of discipline, you can still get a pretty large number of aircraft ordered. Never the largest, but I never felt like the need to grow that fast unless I'm really, really addicted to the game, which has happened a few times, especially when I was commuting. It was actually quite convenient because I'd get up in the morning, I'd request my planes on the commute, and then like once at lunch break or like something like that, I would get on, request my planes again, and then go to classes, and then on the way back it would be perfectly about in time to request again when I got close to my house. And it was just perfectly lined up like that. Request again before I go to sleep. So I'd get basically like the maximum number of requests in minus one for when I have a sleep. Uh, but now with the yeah, you know what I'm talking about, guys. Like, it's very rare that I'm on a strict schedule anymore. Like a lot of my classes are pre-recorded. Um, yeah, and with that, of course, you don't really feel the time that bad when your classes are pre-recorded. And what I mean by that is like, I mean, while your class is at 4, you don't have to be there at 4, because you can just go and watch it. It doesn't really make a difference if you're watching it now or then. And wow, this is an excellent route again, because if I make routes like this, then I'll be able to 7-day my flights pretty easily, which is really, really nice. But let's try and start with an overnight. I always like to start with an overnight. I wish I knew where all these places in the US were. I'm not American. Uh, I'm Canadian. And I do know my Canadian geography pretty well, but I've never played in Canada in Airway Sim, like even though I'm Canadian, which is kind of sad. Just because there's not a lot of demand in Canada. Like there's a good amount of passenger demand, but that is quite overlapping with Chicago and stuff. So maybe a 757 in the future, but nothing for now. Uh, I probably like Austin was a good one if I remember. No, it wasn't. It was here, but this is not an overnightable flight. Oh, I already made it. Okay, not bad. Um, Shreveport. No, that 75,000 should be enough to be quite profitable. Let's keep that in mind. Yeah, like I'm starting to get to the point where I've never heard of these airports anymore. Stewart International. I don't know where that is. Durango, La Plata. I've heard of it because I've made a car route there before, but I don't know where it is. Um, like I think my geography's not bad considering, like I'm not like no geoguesser or somebody like that. But just for like a random Joe who has no association with geographical things, like I'm not a geography student. I don't travel a lot or anything like that. I do know these a fair amount of geography. Um, like compared to like the average American or Canadian, like I probably know like 6 or 7 times the amount of geography. A lot of it just learned from playing airline games. Um, like I can tell you like where a lot of I can't pronounce them correctly because I've never heard of them in real life, but I can tell you where they are. Like I can tell you like Katowice is in freaking Poland, and that um, Cluj-Napoca is a city in what's it called, Europe or that kind of thing. Those are just cities that are from CS:GO actually, like that hosted CS:GO majors. Um, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. It's just from playing a lot of airline games, I've learned where a lot of cities are. Um, as a side result of that, where is this Meadows Field? 75,000 kilograms of cargo. That's not bad. What does it overlap with? Los Angeles. That's interesting. 500,000. We also overlap with Inaugural. It's mostly overlapping with LIX too, but we can probably pull it. You know what? I won't mess with that with 747. I'll mess with that with an A330, so that when you mess up, it doesn't cost you very much. But yeah, actually, that's interesting. It looks like we're about to come to the end of the infinite pool that has been Los Angeles, that has been American cargo, which is really interesting because I was hoping there was more. It's okay. There's plenty more cities in Japan that have tons of demand. I'm really waiting. I think it's 2005, where we get Nagoya Chebu Air Center. Um, It's in a very, very nice location. It has a catchment radius which catches some of Tokyo's demand and some of Osaka's demand, but mostly its own demand. But a lot of its own demand too. Maybe 50% is probably more accurate now, mostly. Um, and yeah, what that means is when that airport comes around, we are gonna be able to really, really roll in money. Um, it's gonna be another airport where we can go ahead and open with large aircraft because not a lot of people know about it. A lot of people are gonna compete with it. Um, yes, demand grows. Like, I wonder how like these cities with like 10,000, if they'll ever have enough to support an A321. Not that I think I'm gonna fly A321s because it's too much work. They're profitable. They're very strong aircraft. I'm not denying that. But what I am saying is flying a significant number of them is going to cause you to be extremely annoyed at the insane amount of work it's going to take to schedule. Look at that demand, jeez. What I just noticed is that Dallas Fort Worth has a ton of potential demand. And I know where that potential demand is going. Now, take a look at this for a second, all right? The potential demand is basically the same as the supply. What does this mean? Is the demand is roughly split among all other Dallas airports and Tokyo airports, but the supply in each one of these airports is being met, like with an even amount of demand. Which means if we add a flight, we're only going to slightly change the ratio. We're going to get, I don't know, 75%. So we could consider Dallas Fort Worth. Because I'm betting we could pull a lot of demand out of Dallas Fort Worth. Now something like when you see this ratio, like 2 to 1, you can't pull any of that demand anymore. Well, you can pull it at the ratio of 2 to 1, it's slightly worse than 2 to 1. Um, but why would I want to do that? Instead, I want to use my 747 nonstop and pull some demand over. Uh, Obviously, it's not the best. It's not the most efficient. But I kind of just need a flight at this point. So let's go ahead and open it. Yeah, I need an overnight flight so I can go ahead and make those other really nice flights. And yeah, 335-minute long stop is unfortunate, but it's the only way to overnight um, to good old United States. I'm gonna check the rest of the world for cargo demand after this. But something tells me there's not a lot of really, really, really large route pairs. Besides this, if I have too many extra 747s, what I will do is I will place them on routes to. Um, I'll place them on routes not. Actually, I had to change of mind. All right, that's why I kept stuttering. Um, is because I had a thought, and what I was gonna do originally is I was going to replace my older 747s with these newer generation 747-400s. But then I had a thought, and I was like, wait a minute. Most of my flights are to Narita right now, but I've been ignoring Kansai for a while or Osaka for a while. Um, so I'm sure I could go there and find a ton of demand as well. So that is actually the new plan. Is we're gonna go to Osaka and check out what kind of demand we can find over there after I'm finished with Tokyo Narita. And another thing about Osaka is it's a bit too far to nonstop, even with the ERF. You lose cargo. The other thing is the demand numbers over there in Osaka are smaller, which means in the future I'll likely want to upgrade them not to 747 or 777s, which is my current upgrade plan. But where the frick the route to Dallas go? Oh, I was using a different schedule on page. I was using this one. Yeah, I was like, where the frick did the route to Dallas go? But yeah, we can go ahead and open this. In 1925, we should quite easily be able to fit that, even though, like, actually, no, we won't easily be able to fit that, but let's see how it goes. 21, we won't be able to take off again before it's too late. I think I know what to do. So we'll go ahead and remove this from schedule. Alright, instead, we'll open Shreveport at 10. Yes, that's perfect. And like we can schedule it slightly later because we want to preserve the slots just around 10 because they're starting to get quite rare. So we can go ahead and open this route up, and then see, now we can fit this flight in quite easily at 18:20. And we're gonna want to probably put like a 5-minute turnaround there to make sure the next turnaround doesn't get too cramped. I don't understand why they made the 747 turnaround so bad compared to other aircraft turnaround. Personally, I believe cargo aircraft should require different turnaround time from passenger aircraft. But like turnaround times for passenger aircraft in general are ridiculous and extremely short for cargo. Like it doesn't really make sense turning around a 747 freighter in like 3 hours. That seems incredibly fast. If you ask me, I'm like, I don't know, but like that's what. Oh my god, that cargo! Like I can't compete with a 747, but you already know what I'm gonna do with my 757s. It's just make sure that these guys aren't having a free lunch on these insane cargo numbers. Look at this, Minneapolis. The demand isn't even filled. Wow. Let's see the other airports, and yeah, it's not really splitting. It's just all to itself. I mean, these airports are tiny. So yeah, let's go ahead and open Minneapolis. Look at that. 2250. Like, jeez, I didn't realize there was this much demand just sitting on the first page. Yeah, like I'd rather compete with this with small aircraft, but there's only one flight, as you can see. So I'll just split it 50-50. I'm okay with that. Like I'd rather try and dominate the market share with 757s, but that's gonna be difficult considering how many. That's annoying. That's a 160-minute turnaround. That's even less than a 160-minute turnaround. There's no slots on Sunday. Alright, what's like a 150-minute turnaround? 14% chance of delay. I'll take my chances. Alright, what about a 120-minute turnaround? I think that's getting a bit extreme. 23%. You know what? Wow. Wow. That is really. Is there not a single slot? Who does this? Who are the people who make flights but not evenly across the days? I'm smacking my computer screen right now for no reason because it's super infuriating. Holy smokes. Yeah. Well. I am extremely annoyed, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna ignore the Sunday flight, I think. Or I'll schedule the Sunday flight with a ridiculous chance of delay. I think that's the play here. Is we ignore all the other days. Yeah, these scheduling in Narita is brutal. It's a lot brutaler than I thought even. I thought it would just be completely unslot restricted almost all day every day. But it appears that since I cannot tell you why, I'm not a big fan of it. The airports start at level 4, even the extremely major airports like Tokyo, Narita, like Atlanta, like LAX, like whatever. They all, for some just unknown reason, at least unbeknownst to me, they all start at level 4, which means they have 40% of the maximum number of slots they can have. Now, is this so players can come in later and get some slots? Um, I mean, like, in theory, yes, but in reality, you just get so little at a time when the slots drop that it's hard to compete anyway when somebody has most of them. So it's like a good gesture, but it's like not a solution to the problem. A solution to the problem would be to stop encouraging players to only focus on metrics of frequency. Instead, actually incentivize large plane usage by making slots freaking expensive, but not to purchase, which they are expensive to purchase. Look, there's one slot is 170,000. But like to a large company like mine, or like even a medium, my company is medium size, not large size for this game. Um, so for even a medium sized company like mine, the cost becomes negligible. I don't think about the cost of slots after a while. It only affects my starting speed. Um, that's all it does. What the frick did I just do? I added something, but I removed something? Did I delete Minneapolis by accident? Oh, I edited a route instead of created a new one. Well, this is why you shouldn't play when you're half asleep, but hey, uh, I'm having a good time. Let's go ahead and add this route to this random plane here. So we can go ahead and click create another route like this instead of edit. Perfect. And we can make this on Friday at the proper time. Perfect. And let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, it's gonna have like a different flight number or whatever, but like, I don't goddamn care about flight numbers. And I don't think most people should. Let's go ahead and remove this from schedule and see if our thing fits. 1815. No, it doesn't. It doesn't fit. Let's go ahead and edit this route and see how much we can wiggle it. Like 10:05, 10 o'clock flat every day. Okay, now let's do one day at first. 10 o'clock. Does it have slots every day? Does. We need to find a few more minutes. So 16 o'clock landing. Let's see. How short are we currently? We're landing at 18:15, and we need it to be 3:35. So we need to roll back 40 minutes. So we found 15 minutes here. We need to find 25 minutes in the turnaround. Is that worth it? 12% chance of delay. I think there's a better solution to this, and that's to find a shorter route. I think that's a better solution. Let's go ahead and take a look through these high demand routes. See if we can find a Detroit. It's usually a really good one. Nope, there's a lot of competition on this one, but it's a perfect route to compete with 757, as I've repeated many times, but I never do because I'm too lazy to schedule my 757s because it takes forever. This is actually a good one. Washington. It's currently being split among other airports, presumably around Washington, but there's a lot of demand to go around. I'm really curious. How's it around like Miami? Okay, not that great. What about... What are other major demand hubs which don't really split a lot? Phoenix. Phoenix is better. Phoenix is better here. It's shorter though. And I know Washington Dulles should perfectly fit, which means I'm kind of incentivized to make this route instead. Because when I need a shorter route, then Philadelphia will come in handy. Yeah. This, by the way, is what I'm doing now, which doesn't appear to be like competing much, is actually a perfect way at destroying the people flying out of Haneda instead of Narita. Flying a very large aircraft like a 747 and pulling demand away from a small aircraft like their 757s. Now, why that's so destructive for them is because my plane is profitable around 35% load factor, which is not great. I mean, a 777 is profitable around 28% load factor, depending on some conditions of like fuel and such and such like that. Whereas a 757 is more profitable around 40% load factor. Um, it's worse because the fixed costs, which is why the 757 needs a higher load factor to be profitable. But the 757 is overall a better plane because it's about infinitely easier to get 40% load factor on a 757 than it is to get 40% load factor on a 747, which is like 2.5 times, close to 3 times larger. But the costs aren't 2.5 or 3 times larger. So by flying a 747 and moving the demand, you pull about the same amount of demand with one 747 flight as 2.5 757s. And boy, do 2.5 757s cost a lot more than one 747. 747 200s is probably close, if not worse, for the 747 200s. But for 747 400s, it should be a decent amount better. The fuel burn's not much better, but the pilot costs, the route fees, and such are not quite a 2.5 times multiplier, maybe about 2 times. So you get that little bit of economic advantage there. And yeah, well, it's kind of, come to think of it, it's kind of terrible. Comparing costs of 747s to 757. It's remarkable at the 2.5. It's remarkably close, actually. Come to think of it, I haven't done the exact math, but it might even be in like the decimals, like 2.2 something. Let's go ahead and check. 747s are just so bad in this game. Here's a 747. How old is this one? Do I have a year? 10 years old. Okay. The H-check is 25,000, and which is pretty good for 4-engine aircraft. And the fuel burn is 9,500 kilograms an hour. Now, this is one of the worst models of 747 I own. My ERFs are much better in fuel burn. Let's see if we can get a good idea here. Yes, fuel burn 8,600. How much is the A-check? Come on. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's compare this to a 757. Where is it? There's so many aircraft. Jeez, I didn't even realize. All right, here we go. 4,000 kilograms an hour, 8,500. So just over, it's 2 point something, 2.1 or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to do math right now. The payload is about 2.8 times higher. So we got some headroom there. The route fees are unknown. I'm not flying any 757 yet. Actually, I know what I can check the route fees in a sec. What else are we looking at? 2 pilots. I mean, the 747 pilots are paid a little bit more. So that's a fixed cost. Of course, no cabin crew on a cargo aircraft. What's not a fixed cost? Maintenance. How much is maintenance? Why doesn't it say on this page? Maintenance is one of the most important costs. But I think the maintenance is the thing which kind of makes 757s still competitive. Yes, how much does an A-check cost? That's all I need to know. Please tell me how much an A-check costs. Where does it say? I don't know where it says how much an A-check costs, guys. Maybe it's here, but I don't see it. Nope, I really don't see it. Alright, well, let's forget about this embarrassment to myself that I can't even find how much an A-check costs. But I'm assuming it's roughly in the same ballpark as 2.5 times the cost. Or 2.5 times less than a 747, which is not bad. Um, anyways, yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is you compete with their economics in a competitive way, in a much more lazy way, because once again, you're flying 747s, so they have to make 3 routes, and I only have to make one. Let's go. Um, of course, this only works if you're not flying in the same airport. Flying in the same airport versus 757, you're gonna lose because the demand splits based on the number of frequencies. So you can not have the same amount of demand as you can have 3 times as much for 2.5 times less cost, or like 2.2 or whatever I calculated. Um, Whatever. There's a slight difference. Nani? Okay, let's go ahead and try that again. Yeah, I need to go to sleep after this. I'm getting hell sleepy. I still got tons of 757s to schedule. I don't know when I'm gonna do that. Um, but yeah, anyways, I'm glad to be able to get these expensive 747s in the air. Stacking route image. Eventually, it'll pay off big time when these are transferred into um, 777s. Once again, these are leased on 5-year deals. So they will be very, very cheap to cancel when it comes 5 years time. Um, I think I need to time it well. I really do need to change the aircraft as they come along. Otherwise, I'm gonna pay so much more in lease fees. Because these short leases are really killer in terms of costs. Um, but what it makes up for in costs, it makes up for in flexibility. So yeah, the goal will be to transition to 777s, um, and also to fly a third type of my choice. I'm still not sure what. Um, but yeah, there's 2 ways to do the transition too. There's a hard transition and a gradual transition. The intelligent thing to do. Why do I have Little Rock here? What plane is this? RJP. Oh, what? I don't know. I feel it. I need to go to sleep. My brain has stopped working. I hope whatever I just scheduled was the way it was supposed to be. KID. Yeah. I remember saying that I can pull the man there. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.